Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we have a very interesting new video covering Star Wars Underworld, which would have been George Lucas's first live action Star Wars series that would have released around 2013 to 2014. With that said, it was a very well conceptually designed series that would have taken us into the Coruscant underworld between episodes 3 and 4 and would have been a massive long TV show run by HBO that explored bounty hunting, the cartels of Star Wars, of the, I guess, smuggling aspects, spice trades, all these sort of things. And, it was a really, really cool, I guess, conceptual design that, obviously kind of fell through, because Disney bought Star Wars and they wanted to do their whole revamp and they decided not to move forward with it. But even before Disney bought Star Wars, it was complicated because this TV series was going to cost over $2.4 billion to create. And to keep perspective, George Lucas sold the entirety of Star Wars, the entirety of Lucasfilm, and all its subsidiaries for $4 billion. So half of the company's worth would have been spent on this show. That is how much quality mattered to this guy. $2.4 billion. No massive studio would ever do that. And even for Lucasfilm, it was tough. They were going to get it out. I think they were going to try to get it out in some way, before Disney took over. But originally, when George was running everything, that was the price tag. I mean, which is just, insane to even think about. Apparently, yeah, dozens of scripts were written, and apparently it was, this huge logistical nightmare because of the price. Yeah, so there's this article here that I'm reading on comicbookmovie.com called Star Wars Underworld. George Lucas's unmade TV series was going to cost over $2.4 billion to produce. I know a lot about this already, but A, I haven't covered it, and B, I've never read this article before, so I might learn something new. Yeah, so here we go. Star Wars Underworld was a hugely ambitious project imagined by George Lucas as the first live-action TV series set in a galaxy far, far away. Dozens of scripts were written, but making it prove to be something of a logistical nightmare for Lucasfilm. It fell sideways when Disney acquired the studio. Whatever. Anyways, we know the series was set on Coruscant, and as the title implies, it was going to explore the planet's underworld at the height of the Empire's rule. Little else is known beyond that, but former Star Wars franchise producer Rick McCallum has shared some new details via San Francisco somethinggazette.com, including the fact each episode was going to cost $40 million to produce. That's insane. So let's do some math here. Let's do 200 million divided by, let's say, 8. Yeah, that's crazy. So each season would have costed more than an entire high budget feature film. And that's insane. Because $200 million is, I think, the average, I think, price for making, let's see, like Revenge of the Sith budget. The average budget for a Star Wars um, movie in the modern day. Um, Now, George Days, he kept things really low, around 115 million on average. Um, and then original trilogy super low, but the sequels were like 200 to 300 million range. Rise of Skywalker costed 416 million. Ridiculous. I don't know where that budget went, but clearly was a waste of money. Regardless, just to put that in perspective, that is a ton of money, and considering, I guess, 60 episodes were planned, you know, that's adds up to $2.4 billion. That is not doable. Like, there's no way that they could have just paid for that easily, which means each episode would have been the quality of a Star Wars feature, just in short lengths. Most TV is shrunken down, constricted, feels small, but tells like it's more like a play because there's a lot of dialogue. Sorry, guys, I'm still sick. Ridiculous. I've had this stupid disease for 8 days. I don't know what it is. It's like a cold. It's like little, but still, it's annoying. Anyways, there's like 8. What was I saying? What the hell was I talking about? I don't even know what I was talking about. Anyways, they're small, they're constricted, lots of dialogue. There's not a ton of action in most TV shows. They're a lot cheaper and easier to make, hence why shows back in the day used to be super long. Now, Mando kick-started this trend, or, revived a dead trend of shows having 8 episodes and just being short, which I don't even think I think that just started from Mando, but now a majority of TV shows do that now, where they're, 8 to 12 episodes long. And then, the budget for each episode exponentially increases. Sorry, I had a cough attack. Anyways, yeah, so now the vast majority of modern shows are short. 8 to 12 episodes. And, then they can, make them cost more so that the quality goes up. It's interesting. It really is. It's very interesting that, things have swung that way. People bitch about it, but personally, I think that's better because I never liked any mainstream shows until, not like recently in terms of like 2020s, but like second half of 2010s. Like I loved Clone Wars and, the animated stuff, obviously, but like for shows, like I didn't have any live action shows that I was like really into because I love everything to be big and immersive and, just massive. And that's not what TV shows were, so they were just kind of lame to me. Until Mando comes around and completely just diminishes that whole trend and just starts this new wave of TV, a new wave of streaming, you know, um, which now shows look more like movies, feel more like movies. They feel more like movies. Um, they're written more like movies because they can have that budget control now by basically just writing a super long movie and splitting it up instead of writing each episode kind of individually on a bigger timeline. So it just completely changed how things were done, which I personally think is really cool. But with that said, that's the only way you could have single episodes cost that much. You cannot have single episodes cost $40 million for a normal length TV show. Like, that just doesn't work. Like, that's insane. That is, like, completely, like, realistically speaking, like, that's ridiculous. And I know George is George, and he would have, again, absolutely changed the TV industry and the way things were done. That's what he does with everything. And he would have found some way to actually get that done, because that's what George does. But for where it was, it looks ridiculous. And, like, there's no way this could ever actually realistically happen. But George is George. He would have figured something out, got it out at the same quality. He's just a legend like that. But no one else can do what he does. So, most other people would just cut the show in half or lower the quality in each episode. That's what most people do. George would find some really crazy out of the box way around it, but unfortunately we will never get to see this show or any of his really cool stuff that he had planned, or silly stuff like Star Wars detours or whatever. But yeah, going on, here's we have the meat of this video. Actual quotes from Rick McCallum, the legend himself. And these are old. He has not been seen. I have not heard anything from that man since 2012. So I don't know. I hope he's doing well. I know he's alive, but he is just out of the public eye completely. So I hope he's chilling. Anyways, I think we had over 60 scripts, third draft scripts, so they were ready. Again, the most wonderful writers in the world on it. That's great. And again, we created exactly the same experience for everybody at Skywalker Ranch, and again, just a phenomenal group of talent. And these were dark. They were sexy. They were violent. They were just absolutely wonderful. Wonderful, complicated, challenging. I mean, it would have blown up the whole Star Wars universe, and Disney definitely would have never offered George to buy it. Laughs. But it's one of the greatest disappointments of our life. Holy crap. So this show was going to be insane, I guess. Just completely groundbreaking. But the problem was each episode was bigger than the films. So the lowest I could get it down to with the technology that existed was about 40 million and so that's them working it down. That's crazy, dude. That's wild. What the heck? What the heck? That's insane. What the heck? Okay, so this is really bad. So if that's them working down, that's crazy. I mean, still, though, if this got done, this would have shook the whole world. That's what he's basically was saying up there. It was just insane. Not even a human TV show. Just absolutely ridiculously good show. But that price, dude, Like, dude, oh my gosh. And I'm like a starting out, beyond starting out, like early, like beginner producer for film. Like beginner, like the most beginner you can be, on a larger scale. Um of film. That's what I want to do, and I know a lot about it. And from what I know so far, and gathered, and just being, common sense, that is like close to unrealistic. Like that's just crazy. I don't. He would have had to get funding help from some other place, because like that prices, that would never fly. Like you can't pay that much an episode. That's crazy. So he would have had to get help from like HBO, who was running the program, or someone else, because that's crazy. And I guess like just divided costs. That's probably what would have happened. But yeah. Anyways, I learned this the other day, and this is really cool. The plan had been for John Williams to score each episode. Can you imagine 60 episodes of George Lucas Star Wars with John Williams? Like that just is like the dream, dude. And a Coruscant Underworld, like this is it. That would have been just so cool, dude. Having Johnny score a whole show. Like he's never really done that before. I think he's probably done a couple like episodes or something, but he's never scored like a whole show before, so that would have been new for him, and it would have been amazing, and I would have loved to see that. Yeah, that would have been really cool. So in 2020, writer and producer Ronald D. Moore revealed, I think it was pretty much one big storyline. It was one long tale with episodic things that would happen. There would be certain events that would happen in this episode or this episode. So it was sort of an episodic quality to some of it, but it was telling a larger narrative in terms of story and those particular characters in that setting. However, he also confirmed we really had no budget constraints. We just went for this pass. Okay, let's just take him at his word, just to make it crazy and big. And there was lots of action, lots of sets, and huge set pieces. Lucasfilm hasn't revisited Star Wars Underworld and decided not to use Lucas's outlines for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Ridiculous. As a result, those 60 scripts are likely to remain locked away in the studio's vaults. And that sucks. Like, I can only imagine how cool these scripts are. Like, dude, the Star Wars sequel trilogy exists. It exists. It's there. Like, that's what's crazy to me, is like, you have the best possible version of that trilogy sitting in San Francisco somewhere. Like, that's just crazy. And you're not gonna, like, use that George Lucas's scripts? Like, that's just what kind of ego do you have to turn down that man? Like, that's crazy. That's like if, like, I could never imagine doing that. George Lucas being like, hey, do you want to direct one of my scripts? And me going, oh, no, I don't want it. Or well, here's what they really did. Oh, yeah, I'll take it. Hide it from you forever. And then I'll do my own. Oh, I want to do my own thing. That's stupid. Like, that is ridiculous. And now knowing that the 60 scripts are also probably locked up in there too, like, what are these guys doing? Like, now it's probably cheaper to make that show because of the abundance of technology that we have today that's so easily accessible. Like, visual effects back then when they were making this show were way more expensive, way harder to get, way harder to just kind of maintain. And now You could pull up Blender. You could pull, like, they wouldn't use Blender, obviously, but you get my point. Like, it's a lot more available and thus would bring the price down quite a bit, And this is a show that is ridiculously well written and would have had John Williams doing all the music, and supposedly Vader and Palpatine would have showed up at some point. Like, this is it, dude. You have the best Star Wars show sitting in a stupid vault. Like, you have everything you need. That was the whole, here, Disney, I'll use an example from your own stupid, crap, horrible movies. That was the whole message of The Last Jedi, was that the Jedi had everything they needed already to survive through Rey. They didn't need a bunch of books. And a bunch of their own logic. They already had it. That was the whole message of that stupid movie, which is ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, let me burn all the Jedi texts. Anyways, you know how much I hate that movie. But that was the message from that movie. So apply, what is it? What's the phrase? Do what you preach. So if you're going to yap to me about that and then literally be doing the opposite, like, it's just hilarious. And I know it's like, oh, it's just a movie, it's not related. Yeah, technically it's not related, but still, it's ironic that they sent that message to audiences and then they're doing this. Like, what are you doing? You're stressing out over, ooh, what do I do? What do I do? You have what to do. You have groundbreaking stuff sitting in a vault collecting dust. If I ever get into Lucasfilm at all, which I probably won't because of the things I say on here, that is the first thing I would ever do. If I could go into the vault, I'd go into the vault, I'd pull those scripts out, I'd read them, and start a project immediately. And if they refuse to let me start a project, I'd release them to the public so that fans could make them and canonize them and do whatever they wanted. It's like, if you're not going to make them, release them. That's like my whole thing, is it makes no sense to gatekeep them for the rest of time if you're not going to do anything. Like, they're gatekeeping it because it would be terrible PR if those got out, people read them, saw how obscenely, ridiculously good they were, and then reflected that back on what Disney has done, and that would just make them look retarded. So this is exactly what I'm talking about when I mean these people are the biggest clowns on earth with their approach they took to Star Wars. Decanonizing Legends was a ridiculous decision. The sequel disaster, ridiculous decision. The Clone Wars decision with let's cancel it and make Rebels, ridiculous decision. Let's reboot Clone Wars and then use only 3 of 10 available arcs and then have 2 of them be some of the middest arcs that were available. Ridiculous. Obi-Wan Kenobi, let's scrap an entire movie trilogy that would have happened, that was beautifully written and done, for Deborah Chow and Joby Harold to step in to make a shaky cam disaster show. Great. Now we have a show about ancient Sith Lords. Oh yeah, let's make this gay. Let's make this all about politics. DEI pumped. Bullshit. Horrible story. No concept of the Force. Great. So that ancient Sith show that everyone wants, ruined. Let's do our own version of the Old Republic. Alright, High Republic, here it is. Disgusting. Waste to canon. All it is politics. The whole thing is politics. From A to Z. The entire timeline of the High Republic is just political, stupid messages. And then we have this. We have this show that's beautifully made. And again, just locked away. Destroyed for no reason. Star Wars Detours. a fun little flick that was pretty much finished, they still refused to release for no reason, just because it had a connection with George. Those are 9 examples, and I could go do way more than that. Those are 9 examples of how ridiculous this company is and how they do not know how to manage a film studio. Kathleen Kennedy is an idiot, an absolute idiot. This is stuff that I know how to handle, and I am 16. I have made 2 I have made and put out 2 films, 2 short films in my life, and I understand this stuff better than her. It is common sense. And I know she's not this stupid. I know she's not this stupid. I just know it. I know she is not this stupid. There is some motive or weird thing going on that is causing her to make all of these stupid decisions, because I don't know what her objective is there other than to ruin Star Wars. Like, there is no other objective. And that's clear. She's trying to make it so that there's Star Wars is 800 different genres and appeals to 800 different people, when 800 people outside of the fan base. So like, oh yeah, let's not feed our fans and grow our fans. Let's try to feed it to people who don't want it, right? And it's like, that doesn't work. And the numbers show it. It doesn't work. It's not working. You failed. Go back, revamp, and let's get going again, you know? But no, we're not going to do that. She doesn't know how to manage a studio. It is ridiculous. It is the most simplistic knowledge ever. Listen to feedback. Think about the feedback. Apply logistic reasoning to the feedback. See if it makes sense. You know, and it's like, it does make sense. And it's very clear that people want to go back to George Lucas Star Wars. We don't want to watch this stuff. And it is proven on every single scale and level that exists. It is so much proof that you see in day-to-day life when you ask random people who aren't even fans, just random nobody, like people who've seen Star Wars, they go, oh yeah, those last 3 were bad. And like they just have seen them and they're saying that. And then you have us going in who are huge fans, and we say they're bad. Like, this is, everyone just hates that trilogy, except for this weird 3% who aren't really fans, who have no view of the world at all. No a view of the, Star Wars world. They're just like idiots, most of them, and don't really care. They're like, pretend to be fans so that they can feel like being a part of something. But that's my point, is these guys are not just like, oh, they're making mistakes. Like, they're stupid. Like, they're legitimately brain dead. Like, Kathleen Kennedy, I don't know if she's sniffing paint over at Lucasfilm every night, or like, I don't know what is going on with her, but her brain doesn't work. Like, I'm convinced she could be getting early Alzheimer's or dementia, because this is just, like, I'd rather, you know what? It would be more stable if Kanye West ran Lucasfilm than Kathleen Kennedy running Lucasfilm. It would be more stable that way. I really, truly believe. And you know how insane Kanye West is. And it just shows you, like, I think he'd do a better job than these fools, It's gotten at a point where, it's true. It's true, It's like, oh my gosh, it's just horrible. It is horrible conditions, and they make the same mistakes. They refuse to change their business strategy. And if you are a business or a producer or anything, and you are failing, and you refuse to change your business strategy, and you refuse to accept that you need to improve and you need to change, you're going to just fail, right? Like, that's just common sense. If you're not changing things that, are not changing yourself when you're in a bad spot, you're just going to fail. Like, I don't understand. Like, this is simple logistics, which makes me really believe it is the politics, and that is the main reason why things are what they are. because logistically, it's just illogical. Like, there's zero, like, proof you could back to how this is working, and how the sequels were good and how their approach has been better than the other. Like, that's not true. And then this crazy woman says she has no regrets. Like, are you out of your mind? No regrets? Like, wow, wow. And I know as a producer, you know, we're typically we're business minded, so we don't want to like accept defeat like that publicly and blatantly. But if you're a humble, good person who is fucked up this bad, you should just admit it. At this point, after 10 years, no, 13 years of screwing up, you should just admit it. Like, I just believe you should just admit it. Early on, it's like, no, you got to keep your, like, PR and your word of mouth and your reputation high. But at this point, where her reputations doesn't exist anymore, she ruined her whole rep. She actually used to be reputable before she was president of Lucasfilm. She was a very successful producer. And now her reputation doesn't exist because of what she's done with this brand and how just she says the most ridiculous things, So I'm sick of her, and I'm so glad that she is going to leave. That's wonderful news. And I made a video on that, but it's past the point of relevancy, so I forgot to upload it. So, but still, she is leaving. I know that she's not retiring yet, but she is leaving Lucasfilm. Well, like stepping down. Maybe she'll still be lurking in the company, but she won't be CEO anymore in like a year, which is great. That's a step in the right direction, unless they hire other randos. If they hire other random people, I think like we're just cooked forever, guys. Like, honestly, like we're just done. Like if they don't hire John or Dave's kind of an idiot, so I don't know if that's like true necessarily anymore, unfortunately, but just someone who fucking knows Star Wars, like understands Star Wars, like, that would be nice. That would be really, really nice. But until then, I don't know, man. Like, we're stuck in this stupid spot for forever now. We're jammed. Until this ridiculous woman leaves, but until then, we're just stuck. We're kind of crammed in Shitville, USA. Yeah, so yeah, it's stupid. Like this show sounds like it was gonna be a masterpiece and shake the world, like most George Lucas, like all George Lucas Star Wars products did. Um, and I really wish that at least I could read the scripts. At least I could get the story somehow, you know, just experience it in some way. But no, I might never be able to, if they, are doing their stupid thing of locking him up. I probably never will, and that sucks, dude. The amount of money I'd give just to read them would be ridiculous. I would pay so much money just to get my eyes onto the page, like I really would give a lot for that. But that probably won't happen. Yeah, I mean that company is a big disaster. Lucasfilm is just a mess right now, dude. And I really, they got a clean house. They should just fire every single person on staff and just rehire competent people. Bring old people back, like bring Rick back, get him back somehow in any way you can. Get all the old producers back who left or quit after George left. Bring all those guys back. Bring James Luceno back to writing. He's the best writer Star Wars novels have ever had. That man is just the best Star Wars author for Star Wars books and everything. Bring back Matthew Stover. Bring back um, the guy who wrote The Force Unleashed, Shane Blackman, I think was his name. I don't know, something like that. Super talented. Hey, no, Hayden Black something. He's ridiculously talented too. Like bring all those guys back to make stuff. Bring back John Jackson Miller, which they did actually for The Living Force. I've not read that yet, but they did bring him back for a book. Timothy Zahn, like all these guys, just bring them back. BioWare, the writers for the Old Republic game, bring all these guys back, dude. And then we'd be in a much better spot, but they won't. They hire these idiot High Republic authors who are the most politically driven creatives on Earth to make Star Wars, which has aliens and is in another galaxy, and therefore our weird identity politics on Earth do not go back to reflect to Star Wars, but for some reason they think it does, and the shills try to say George Lucas Star Wars was super political when it wasn't. It was sending a very undertone message that was just about basic human good qualities that was not driven by a narrative. It was just rebel. If it comes down to an evil empire destroying the world and causing chaos, you need to rebel against them. Believe in light, believe in hope, and you will succeed in abolishing that. That's that whole theme. That's all it is. That's the political messages. This big empire, which George compared it to the, U.S. and Vietnam. The big, giant, mechanical, not mechanical, but like just the giant military, the giant nation against this tiny nobody nation who uses scraps for weapons, and the people with the scraps for weapons win against the giant nation. That's the most political it got. It's just like 60s and 70s, hippie, I guess, messaging. But it's like barely even that. George was definitely a hippie, and he says he's a hippie, or he was a hippie in that age, but like most people were. But he wasn't a psycho one. Like, he wasn't. He was very level-headed. He had, obviously, a ridiculously good moral compass, and I believe he still does, to this day. And that's shown throughout Star Wars and how it is a very Christian-themed franchise, which is really cool for me. But, it's really not this hyper-political thing at all. That's the whole point of Star Wars, is it takes you out, And sure, then the other argument is, the episode 1 starts with taxation and trade routes. It's like, yeah, Star Wars is a universe with governments, therefore it has to work. They're original stories and original themes, right? Like, it's not like they're like, oh yeah, we're going to take this event that was happening in modern times in 1990 that all these people are bitching about, and we're going to put it in this movie to show our support for so-and-so. That's not what George did. What George did was like, way back in the day, this happened, we'll use this as an inspiration, like, oh yeah, trade routes, whatever, we'll see the history of that. We'll combine a bunch of different pieces of that history from different parts of time, different parts of the world, together for our Star Wars version. They're not just ripping a piece of history and throwing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like When I mean hyper political, I mean, you know, modern day woke politics and stuff. You know, that's really the issue with Lucasfilm right now, is just this dying need for everything to be, just run by DEI and ruled by DEI. Um, Disney's starting to back off on that now, which is really, really, really cool. And I love seeing that, and that they're just starting to understand and realize they have to just make fun movies. That's what they're starting to do now, and I'm starting to respect them a little bit more. But Lucasfilm, they have not fully made that transition yet. They're still very stuck because of Kathy, and Kathy's crazy, so she's like, Disney is nowhere near perfect, but they're at least, I feel like there's a percent of them that is starting to shift, which is good. That's progress, and I hope I see that through Lucasfilm. But this is what's running Star Wars now, is this need for modern politics thrown in everything, and it's like, no, you're getting this all wrong, all mixed up and wrong. You're turning the Force into magic and not into an actual spiritual thing. And that's George's biggest issue with what's going on right now. That's my biggest issue with what's going on right now. Is that they're taking away this this special feeling that Star Wars gave you through the Force being present. It's now just like this magical thing that doesn't make sense, and is, the balance thing became this like weird, moral grayness, like half light, half dark. You need some darkness in the world. Like, come on, that is a ridiculous message, And George's message was the darkness just puts the light out of balance, and the way to balance the Force is to diminish the dark, right? And then it balances out again. The dark comes in, unbalances. Light comes in, rebalances, right? And it was that. And that's really how things work, but Disney had to do, again, shove politics in there, try to be hippie and liberal and whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, we have to, and the Acolyte especially, they're like, you need some darkness in the galaxy. Like, ugh, like, what? That is a stupid message to push. Do a cool thing about Sith, but don't push a message that you need half and half. That is so stupid and ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, you need half of goodness in the world and half of evil. Like, what kind of logic is that? Like, oh yeah, we have to make sure that we keep some evil around. Like, what? It's just stupid, dude. But my point being in all of this is, this is just another upsetting example of Disney making ridiculous decisions. It's just yet another example of them just flunking, And I would, this sounds great, from what I've seen, and I really wish that, and my rarest hopes and dreams, someday I get to witness those stories in some way, shape, or form. But until that random day with a 0.0002% chance of happening, they will just remain locked up and remain getting dust on them. That's what's gonna happen. So yeah, we should just, all the real fans should gather together and raid the Lucasfilm vaults, steal the scripts, and get out. That would be funny if it's like, Mission Impossible, but like Star Wars fans getting, that would be a funny spoof to film, dude. Oh my gosh, it's actually a good ass idea. Yeah, I don't know. I'll do that. So copyright Zane Sade for that idea, but yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that is funny. Star Wars fans breaking into the Lucasfilm vaults to steal the sequel trilogy scripts. Oh my god. And then they have to get out and like Kathleen Kennedy's like, oh dude, that would be so funny. South Park could do shit like that, you know? Just like a spoof, but yeah, you know, that's the only way, you know, and I'd be down. I'd be down. I'd risk it. We could probably get in and get out. Their brains don't really function over there, so they'd probably not even realize, oh, this is gone. You know, we'd have to be stealthy, but I believe we could get them and then just release them to the world. Look, you know, and then we could also get the file that silences George, which they made George sign an NDA after he absolutely demolished them on the Charlie Rose interview. They got very angry with him and they made him sign an NDA so he couldn't talk about things going on over there publicly anymore, which sucks and is evil and crooked and horrible, but that's what Disney turned into for a bit, you know, and now I'm seeing a slight change, but for a while there, they were just evil, you know. I hope that they pull their shit together, you know. Like really pull their shit together, you know. If there's another Acolyte event or She-Hulk like event again, I just will, you know, I don't know, we'll see. It's just hard for me to like just say, you know, because like Walt Disney he was like George Lucas, you know, he was like this legend who created this entertainment mogul company that just like rocked the world out of comprehension. I mean, Disney was the first like franchise thing ever. Not franchise, but like first like recognizable stylized entertainment company, you know, like it was the first. I don't know, it just had this thing. It like started and then obviously with the theme parks, it started that whole big theme park boom pretty much was from them, and they're still the best to this day. And that's one thing, is I go to the Disney parks all the time, and that is a Disney owned thing obviously, and I really enjoy them. You know, and I love the old Disney films from when I was a kid, you know, and then below. You know, those are great films, most of them. They're well done. And so it's hard for me to sit here and say, oh, Disney's just the worst company in the world. It's like they've done these great things for everybody, but it's just their leadership right now that is bad. But if you get the right leaders in there, Disney is the biggest creative powerhouse in the galaxy. Like, really, they are so talented. They can be. They have the potential to be just the most talented entertainment group ever in the world. But right now, they're not that. You know, they're a mess. And I don't know what's going on over there internally, and why they randomly started prioritizing all these things. I have my own theories and thoughts on that I won't share on here, but still, you know, it's ridiculous and it's gotta stop at some point. And that is my whole thing, is if I could ever break into that Disney leadership, stuff would change. I'm telling you. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not one of these people who knows nothing about this stuff and thinks they could hop into it. I've been a monster at film work and studying things and figuring stuff out and looking at things from multiple points of view. And I single-handedly believe if I got in there, I could make a really, really big difference. You know, and again, I don't know if that'll ever happen, you know, at least now, because they're so, you know, I'd never get in because of my skin color, and my gender and the things I say, you know, that I'd never be let into that company. But if things change when I'm older a little bit and it becomes a little more flexible, or somehow I manage to slip through the door by a crack or something, I will, sure, dude. I'd love to be in the door at the Walt Disney Company. And if things are really bad still and are horrible, then I will just tell the world about everything going on anonymously or publicly, depending on how major it is. I might not even care, about just giving up my job for the truth and the goodness of the world, like James O'Keefe won't have to send one of his guys, bro. I'll be the guy, like that's the thing. Like if it's still bad, then I'll just say it, um but if it's not and it's good and I'm at least, me and hopefully others in there who want to make things change will make things change, then that's great. And I won't, destroy their whole reputation and career. But I really hope I can get in there, and I know that there is some people lower on the totem pole over there who are very smart-minded and know what's going on and understand things. All our leakers and our, you know, what I like to call Disney gossipers who tell us all the drama going on and Disney. Like those guys are really good, really talented, and they're just too low on the totem pole to make anything change. But if they get up, we're good. And Theory knows people over there, I guess, somehow, that are lower on the totem pole in Lucasfilm, but are really smart-minded like him and talented. So those people should move up, right? So it's like we're just stuck at this phase of just crap leadership. But once that's broken and the leadership changes, then we're back, But until then, eventually all those people will die off anyways. I know it's kind of dark, but it's true. Once they die off when they're old and haggling and whatever, I hope that the younger people are not as stupid. Because the guys running it right now are ridiculous people. So with that said, thank you for watching this video on Star Wars Underworld. And this just goes to show Disney has yet another ridiculous decision under their belt that I will hold over their head until things change. So, great job, Disney. That was a ridiculously stupid decision, and I hope you guys pull your shit together. Just know that I still love you. I still love you. Even though you've made me scream, get mad, swear, punch my desk. You've made me have 20-minute conversations of just trash talking you with my friends. You've become a laughing stock. You've become a symbol of left politics, to where you've made yourself an adjective. That was awfully Disney of you. I've heard people use that all the time. Yeah, that's what you guys have become. But I know all people go through hard times. All companies go through hard little periods and bumps. And even though you're horrible right now, I still love you, Disney, for the things you've done for my childhood, for giving me a place to be able to unwind, feel comfortable, feel safe, feel secure, and feel joyful. That's 30 minutes from my house, which I'm so lucky to have. Like I'm eternally grateful for that. But that doesn't mean I'm not gonna critique you guys when you do stupid things like canceling this show or locking away George's scripts, or I'm gonna have to, it's like being a good parent. A good parent will love their kid through anything, anything they do, like they still love them, but they will treat them the way they need to be treated to correct themselves, and Disney has to pull their shit together, and I will do anything I can to help them get to a better spot, because like I hate the reputation Disney has right now, and it does not reflect what the company was when George sold Star Wars to them. And that's why George sold Star Wars to them, because they were just the best at that time, like imaginable. And then it was actually right after that that things started going downhill, which is, I find ironic and sucky for George, that it's like, what, you guys have been great till now, and now you just completely betrayed me, but anyways, yeah, I hate modern Disney, but I love real Disney, real Walt Disney. And even little after that, like Cars and freaking Monsters Inc. and Pirates of the Caribbean and, Disneyland and all that stuff. I love it, but the new stuff, man, fucking shit. And I'm gonna say it's shit, so... And that's one thing with me. I'm going to be raw and honest till I'm 6 feet under. So there's no person who could scare me out of speaking my mind in the world. No, yeah, like that's just not, I just live speaking my truth, and if you don't want to hear the truth, or hear my raw thoughts or whatever, then, that's your problem. I'm not saying everything I say is the definitive truth of the world, because I hate people who think that way. But if I give factual statements with evidence and data to back it up, like the sequels are a disaster, I'm just speaking the truth, dude. In a world full of lies. Anyways, yeah, wow, that guy's a fucking disaster. Speaking of disasters, that man, bro, that man, oh my gosh, dude, fucking disaster. Ugh, like he just has made the best, like just some of the best music ever, and then he does this shit, and it's like, wow, thank you, dude, you're fucking, ugh, yeah, it's like a similar situation. I'm like, I love you, but I do not love the modern you at all, Anyways, yeah. Thank you guys for sticking around. This was a great, interesting video, I think. Let me guys, let me know what you think. DM me, Saudi video on Instagram, and then send me questions for a Saudi's Cantina, which I'm hoping to do soon. But yeah, anyways, that's really it. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. Till the next one, may the force be with you always. Bye-bye.